James Dean Bradfield and Nicky from the Manic Street Preachers.
Hello there, Chris.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be there. It's a big build-up, a lot to live up to.
Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, we will live up to this together. So how are you today? Is everything okay?
Yeah.
No, we're cool. We're locked and loaded.
That's good to hear. Well, your 9th album, Journal for Plague Lovers, is out today. Do you still get nervous before you release new material?
Oh, absolutely. Ever since we released our first single, every single thing we've done since then, we take nothing for granted. We're always highly fractious around the release of an album, just because we always put so much into it. It's the same for lots of bands and everyone in different walks of life, I guess.
I tell you what, we'll talk about the album in depth a bit later, because first I want to talk about the career. I can't believe it's 17 years since you released your debut album, Generation Terrorists.
It is a long time. We've definitely been in the band a lot longer than a lot of people's marriages last. And our band has probably lasted a lot longer than most bands, you know. It's been longer in my head, but Nick argues about this. But, we wrote our first song in 1985, or 1986, I think. So I feel like I've been in the band for, a solid 20 years. I still love it. It doesn't feel that long to me.
It's incredible how quickly time goes, really, because there are people that were born in the year you released that album that can now drive.
And me and Jim still can't drive. No. Maybe
they can teach you in the future. You gave them the album, they can teach you the miracle of driving.
I think we've bucked the trend, because we've been on the same label. We've been on Sony stroke Columbia right from the start. Same people, we do the same things. There's just none of our contemporaries really have survived. Most of them have split up and then reformed and come back. So considering we only set out to make one album, it's been a long old road.
How much has the industry changed in that 17 years?
Cataclysmic. I'm really glad we were around in the good times when, creatively, monetarily, just things you were allowed to develop as an artist. We didn't really sell lots of records until Everything Must Go, which is our 4th album. I don't think bands are given that chance anymore. There was a lot of faith behind us in that respect as well. We were releasing cassette singles when we started.
Oh, I remember the cassette single.
It was coloured vinyl, and it was always 7 inches, and we never even knew what the notion of a download would be. We never knew about the notion of what giving music away for free would be either. So everything has changed, absolutely everything, except for gigs, perhaps.
What do you think of the reality TV shows like The X Factor and Britain's Got Talent? Are they good for the music business?
They're good for making money. They're not good for projecting us as a nation of really creative musicians with the traditions of the Beatles and the Stones and the Clash and the Sex Pistols. So it's a dichotomy, Unfortunately, the fact that The Who and all those great bands that we've produced over the years, they're the ones that people remember. It's not, hopefully, the talent show stuff.
Right. Well, you guys did it the hard way. I mean, there was busking on the streets of Cardiff, and also you played loads of venues where you weren't exactly appreciated as much as you are now. What was the roughest venue you ever played?
Reading After Dark just turned into a pitch invasion. I got smacked in the face, and it was actually quite thrilling. In Garrick, in a brilliant gig in Scotland, they had syringes, and they was full of cider, and they were aiming at these syringes at us. When it goes in your eye, it really burns. I have to say it was all good fun. As Keith Richards would say, it was a price of an education.
We've got much more perspective than we probably want. We played the Millennium Stadium, the first ever gig there, but just across the road was an old venue called the Square Club, where only 2 people turned up to see us when we played there.
One of which was Richie's sister.
Yeah.
Very loyal of her.
So we've had the whole gamut of experiences, I suppose.
Well, I actually saw you live at the Millennium Stadium on New Year's Eve 1999. That was an incredible show. It was a massive production, something you must have been very proud of. What are your memories of that night?
For once, it was a memory of actually pulling it off. So many things you do in a band, or just in your life in general, you never quite do it. But for once, the gig itself was monumental for us. To see that many people in our national stadium, I just got nothing but good memories. A lot of the things over years, there's always, the odd thing you regret. But I think that night, apart from the fact Richey wasn't there, was just a brilliant experience. I've got nothing bad to say about it, which is rare for me.
Well, talking of live shows, you're going to tour the UK very, very soon, kicking off at the Glasgow Barrowlands. Do you enjoy life on the road?
I think we absolutely love touring. Like I said, it's the one aspect of the music industry that just hasn't changed at all, really. We have the experience and the privilege of being able to draw from 9 albums worth of material and actually play them live, so we can actually keep it a bit fresh and exciting for ourselves. And then again, you never get bored with playing a song on Motorcycle Emptiness, because I just get to play a guitar solo for 4.5 minutes. You know, so it's kind of, I think we all absolutely love going on the road.
I think travel is just inspirational as well. We've been really lucky the last few years, from Moscow to Croatia to Hong Kong to Singapore to Turkey. We've gone to places where, in all honesty, we never even thought we'd be popular. And you turn up and there's 2,000 or 3,000 or 12,000 in Romania. You know, people singing all the words to "If You Tolerate This." It's really opened our eyes, and it has been a true inspiration the last couple of years. We've fallen back in love with touring even more, I think.
Well, you're in fact the first Western rock band to play in Cuba, which was documented in the DVD Louder Than War. How did the South Americans take to you when you did that gig?
That was the one truly surreal moment, being in a band that is still hard to take in, because there was no security guards or any security barriers. In fact, the security barrier were giant potted plants. I mean, huge palm trees almost playing in front.
They weren't triffids, were they?
They felt like it. But it was an amazing experience. It's something I think I take in more when I watch back at the DVD. I take it in, because at the time it was just such a meeting Castro.
I was going to say, what was he like? You know, is he a big Manics fan?
He said the drums were louder than war. That was a brilliant quote. You know, that's where we got the title for the DVD from. But he was incredibly bright. He knew that we were Welsh. He was talking about nationalities. I've met a few politicians in my time, and he was certainly the best briefed.
Well, I've got to talk about this, the tour that you're going to be going on. You're not doing any dates in South Wales, are you?
We're not. We did a lot on the last tour. We did a secret gig in Newport as well before Reading. But there's no real point behind it, to be honest. It's a short tour. We play the entire album first, like Jim said. Just venues we've enjoyed over the last 10 years. And sometimes, you know, people neglect North Wales, so it just felt right to play Llandudno this time.
Do you prefer doing these, like, intimate venues as opposed to the big stadiums?
It doesn't matter. You're still trying to do the same thing. You're still trying to express yourself and give people some sense of joy, and hopefully stimulate their brain a little bit as well while you're doing it.
Very good morning. It's Chris Blumer at breakfast right here on Nation Radio South Wales. And on the show today, we're joined by James Dean Bradfield and Nicky from the Manic Street Preachers. Hi, guys.
Hello there.
So, your new album, Journal for Plague Lovers, it's out today. How long did it take to put this together?
I think kind of like once we started writing the music to Richey's lyrics, it kind of over the course of, say, 4 or 5 months, we wrote these songs, and then we quickly put some demos together, and then just recording the record and mixing it probably took us just under 5 weeks, I think. That's just kind of quite snappy and average for a band like us at our age.
Once we got the flow, once we got the mindset, it all worked really well.
Well, as you just said, the album features lyrics from Richey Edwards. Why have you used his lyrics on this album as opposed to earlier albums you've released?
It's just one of those things. I mean, you know, I used to sit down in university and write lyrics with Richey, stuff like Motorcycle Emptiness and La Tristessa. We used to sit down together. Around the time of our third album, The Holy Bible, Richey definitely took over. I'm a fan of his lyrics. He not only was a friend and a bandmate, but I really respect his intelligence and his sort of intellectual drive. So when we actually look back at the lyrics he left us about 18 months ago, or maybe a bit less than that, it was just a privilege, really, and a joy, because, you know, you just don't get lyricists like him around anymore. And it just felt like we're doing some kind of tribute album for his intellect and for his just his love of culture and ideas.
Well, you recorded it at the Rockfield Studios in Monmouth, where you've recorded loads of stuff in the past. What's so special about that place? Because loads of bands use it, don't they?
It's the fact that kind of so many of our favourite records have been recorded there. You know, you've had Rush recording there, you've had Black Sabbath recording there, you've had Echo and the Bunnymen, early Simple Minds stuff has been done there. And when you actually go there, you do feel a bit of that history. You do feel as if perhaps it can rub off on you and what you're trying to do yourself. And it's very rare, you know, those kind of places, those kind of studios in London are being closed down, you know, every year. And Kingsley, who actually runs Rockfield, should actually be given a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Welsh Parliament or something, because he's kept the vibe at the studio exactly the same. Hardly anything has changed, but it's still an amazing place. And he just actually do feel as if there's a bit of history in the walls.
It should be a listed building. It should be forever subsidised by the Welsh Assembly. If it hits financial trouble, then we should always strive to keep that place open.
It's so sad, because you hear of this almost on a sort of weekly basis, all these recording studios, being torn down, and you just think to yourself, you know, as you said, they should be listed buildings, a lot of them, for the history they've created over the years.
Oh, they definitely should. I mean, we recorded an album. There was a place called Big Noise in Cardiff, not as prestigious.
I've been there. I went to see you when you recorded This Is My Truth, Tell Me Yours. There was a studio behind West Canal Wharf in Cardiff. I actually went in there and saw you recording that album when I worked at another radio station.
All right.
Yeah, and I actually got you to sign. I bought a Welsh flag, and I got you all to sign the Welsh flag, and I've kept that Welsh flag. I've always thought to myself, if ever, in times of crisis, if I'm financially hard up, that is going on eBay, I tell you.
We've signed a lot of Welsh flags.
The stock's falling in value then, unfortunately.
But that studio, 60-foot dolls, Catatonia, Super Furries, were nurtured there, and unfortunately that was knocked down. They're an important part of the cultural heritage of Wales.
So the album then, being produced by Steve Albini, who's worked with the Pixies and Nirvana. How was he to work with? I imagine he was incredible to work with, wasn't he?
He's kind of inscrutable. He is slightly odd, if I'm being honest. He comes to work in his overalls. He's not a producer, he's just a recorder. He doesn't change structures. He just sets up millions of mics. He makes everything sound really balanced. He doesn't really want to be a friend, if you know what I mean. He just wants to get the work done.
Yeah.
And it was a really challenging and exciting period in the studio with him.
Jenny Saville, who's painting graced the front of your classic album, The Holy Bible, she actually designed the cover for this album as well, didn't she?
She did, and she is such a kind and generous, wonderful woman. She let us use the Holy Bible for free, and she also let us use this painting called Stay. And her paintings do sell for hundreds and thousands. And usually, because I kind of do the artwork, I know what a legal minefield these things can be. And she's been nothing but really approachable, and I think it really suits the record.
Did she listen to the album before designing the cover?
She did, yeah. Our manager spoke to her and explained the whole process, how we went back to the Holy Bible and Richey's lyrics, and as soon as she sort of knew the context of everything, she just seemed really happy to do it.
Well, you've both recorded solo material in the past. Any plans to record separate material in the future?
At the moment, me personally, I don't really have any plans to do any solo work. But I know that Nick's always furiously sketching other songs that don't seem to be MSPpedia songs. There might be one from him, I don't know.
Since the solo album opened up some avenues in terms of me just relearning to play the acoustic guitar, there's certain songs which are just way too kind of fragile and indie to be Manic songs, and some kind of out-of-tune, droney, melancholy kind of album that sells a couple of copies maybe one day, but we shall see.
So what new bands do you rate?
At the moment, well, I'm listening to two albums at the moment. There's an album by a band called The Thermals, and it's another band called Crystal Stilts. I'm just into those two records quite a lot.
And the Horrors, I think, have made a really brilliant album. They've sort of found their soul.
We've talked about the tours, and we've talked about the music as well. What about the awards? I mean, you've won countless awards over the years, Brits, Q Awards. Where do you keep them?
Well, my father's got all my Brits. Perhaps I was a bit blasé in the past when I received some awards, but I think they have a bit more impact on you as the years pass by. But I suppose the one award that always meant something to me, really meant something to me at the time when we received it, was the Ivor Novello Award for Best Contemporary Song for Design for Life, because we kind of felt as if we'd been accepted as songwriters, and I don't think as if we were perceived as such before we got that award. So I keep that one, and it's a handy weapon just in case.
It's very heavy. It's solid bronze. It's by far the most classy. It's the only one really that feels like you could flog it for a lot of money.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a county darts kind of like a county darts trophy where you can just pick it up and break it within 1 second.
Well, last year you won the Godlike Genius Award at the NMEs. I mean, that must have been a proud moment.
That was really special because that was a summation of all our career. We grew up reading the NME. It was an important lifeline for us. It informed us, it educated us. It felt like the four of us was getting it. That award was for our whole career. It's not for a specific moment. It just made us feel like, we've done a lot, but we've still got a lot to do. I think the next morning, when you get sort of lifetime achievement awards, it means a hell of a lot, but you have that fear thinking, oh my God, is this it? And that definitely pushed us then even just to work harder and to try and make an even better record.
Well, I tell you what, it's been a pleasure to chat to you today, guys. I wish you all the best with the album Journal for Plague Lovers. It's out in the shops today. Of course, the tour kicks off, as we mentioned, in Glasgow next week. All the best for the tour and the album as well. James Dean Bradfield and Nicky from the Manic Street Preachers.
Thanks a lot, mate. It was a pleasure. And this is Peeled Apples from our new album.